Hello and welcome to the daily press briefing at the 16th Internet Governance Forum, streaming to you live from Katowice, Poland. My name is Michał Szymański. I'm with the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and with me today is a very special guest. Ever since he coded his first antivirus code in 1989, when I was still a toddler, Mr. Eugene Kaspersky has been on the front lines of cybersecurity and specializing particularly in work on the dangers of cyber warfare and government-sponsored cyber attacks. Welcome to the IGF, Mr. Kaspersky, and thank you very much for being with us.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to the audience, and I'm ready for the questions.
Okay, before we jump into the questions, I just want to give the journalists here and in front of their screens a quick rundown of what's been happening today at the IGF. Today's vibrant IGF program will give space to a topic that's on the minds of everyone: climate change. The IGF has been increasingly discussing the role of digitalization in climate change and sustainability. The environmental footprint of the digital world is estimated to amount to a virtual seventh continent, with up to 5.6% of humanity's global carbon footprint. Operations related to ICTs are expected to represent up to 20% of our global electricity demand, with 1/3 stemming from data centers alone. At the same time, digital technologies are vital in effectively tackling environmental issues. Two plenary IGF sessions on environment today will discuss the critical issues related to environmental data, e-waste, food and water systems, and more. A report will also be released soon after the meeting by the IGF Policy Network on Environment, which gathers policy solutions by international experts. Also taking place today is a conversation on the future of the internet with Tim Wu of the United States White House and Rebecca McKinnon of Ranking Digital Rights. And tomorrow there will be the IGF's traditional open mic and taking stock session in which any participant can express their views on both the organizational and substantive aspects of this year's forum. And now, thank you very much for your patience. Over to you, Mr. Kaspersky, if you would like to address the journalists gathered here in Katowice or in front of their screens at home around the world.
Yeah, okay, so if we speak about global warming and climate change, well, actually, I can confirm. Well, at the moment in Moscow, it's -8 Celsius. So it's winter is coming. But when I was a child, I remember that it was much colder during the winter time in Moscow. So typically the -20 for a week or couple of weeks, it was normal. -30, it happened, -30 Celsius. It happened almost every year. Once for 5 years at -40 and below. And not anymore. So actually, -15 now. It's a cold in Moscow. So I think that the winters in Moscow region now it's like a +10 Celsius. So it's warmer, and within one generation, it's easily to recognize that. And what's same with the global change, global climate change and cyber? Well, actually, I think that I believe that the cyber can really help us to keep the climate in the same, keep the climate status quo. Well, actually, the cyber technologies now, they are everywhere, and especially in industrial sector. And with cyber technologies, we can make the industrial systems, they work more effective. So decrease the consumption of power, decrease the pollution, to optimize all these technological processes. Actually, that's, well, the world is moving in the direction of Industrial Revolution 4.0. And I believe that with cyber technologies will make the world much more clean, let's say it in this way. But unfortunately, we have stop factors. And we have, I recognize 3 major stop factors, which don't let us to move to the cyber age. First of all, it's the global cybercrime, and the global cybercrime is huge. Well, I don't know how hackers, how many criminals are in this business. Well, if they say that there are about 100,000 of criminals developing the malicious code, developing the different kinds of cyber attacks, I'm not surprised. Because every day we collect about 350,000 new unique malicious applications. Every day, 350,000 malicious applications. It means that, well, if there are 100,000 of criminals doing that, I am not surprised. But technically speaking, we can sort it out. So we can analyze this malicious code and release the antidote almost automatically, and we do that. The problem is that they're getting more professional, and these junior or middle-level criminals, they join highly professional criminal gangs. Well, we can handle that as well. And the worst thing is that these professional gangs, they're able to hack even very well protected enterprises, and they're slowly moving into the direction of industrial systems. So the industrial systems want to be cyber. They want to be connected to the internet. They want to be connected to data centers to make this industrial system to work more optimal. But if they are connected to the global networks, they are vulnerable. So this is the main task for cybersecurity. I think this is the main goal for the cybersecurity, to let industrial systems to be connected to the internet and guarantee that they are 100% safe. Without that, unfortunately, it's not possible to make all these algorithms, all this idea, all this mathematical stuff to apply it to industrial processes, and it will be very dangerous, almost impossible to turn into the industrial revolution 4.0 with less effect on the climate issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaspersky. And have we got any questions from the journalists here or online? I see none, but I do have a question. As I mentioned, you wrote your first piece of antivirus code in 1989, when most of us didn't have any computers yet. How would you say things have changed since then? What is the main difference between the world back then and today?
That's a very good question. And typically, when I speak about this change in technologies, typically I say that I am very happy generation. My age is a very happy generation because we remember the world before cyber, before internet, before mobile phones, and now we enjoy all these technologies, and we enjoy it more than youngest. Because youngest, they don't understand how the world could look like without internet, without cyber, no mobile phones, no chats, no social media.
Libraries.
Yes, libraries. Oh, yes, all telephone stuff. So we live in an absolutely different world, and it's changing. So there are more and more innovations. So I don't want to speak about this easy stuff, but for example, in 90s, cybercrime didn't exist. There were many hooligans, vandals, developing the malware just for fun, to prove themselves, to display some funny messages or pictures, to destroy the data on the birthday as a gift to the rest of the world. But it's not really crime. Because there was no money in the internet. Actually, there was no online banking that time. Online banking was introduced in the early 2000s. So that in the cyber vandals, they turned into cyber criminals. Then there were more and more technologies developed, and unfortunately, many of them they were used by cyber criminals. So actually, I see the world how it's changed, not only from the technology, but not just from the positive side, but the negative side as well. So the world is different now from this 90s, from 80s, and the cybercrime is very different as well. So like say 10 years ago, there were no professional cyber gangs, and there were no successful attacks on enterprises, for example, banks, or there was just exception. Now it's normal. Like if you follow the headlines, you see this, the big enterprises, banks, industrial companies, they are attacked almost, well, all the time. But actually speaking about this change, the world is very, very changed, very, very different with what we have 30 years ago, and the situation with cybersecurity is also very, very different.
Thank you very much. Have we got a question? Do I see one? No. Following up on that, you recently wrote an article for The Guardian where you said, we stand in the middle of a storm, not just a geopolitical one, but a cyber political one. Can you talk something more about the government-sponsored cyber attacks and cyber warfare? Are we actually in an invisible world war that's happening in the online space?
Yeah. I typically split these two categories of malware: the cybercrime and state-sponsored espionage tools and warfare. Cybercrime. Okay, so that's complicated, but it's easy to understand. The state-sponsored attacks, that's a very complicated issue, and actually there are unfortunately very many nations they are in this game. Speaking about warfare, I still am crossing fingers that it will never happen, because actually we are very vulnerable. We live in a very vulnerable world, and actually the damage from the cyber attacks is unpredictable. And the bad thing also is that the others will copy past the technologies, and they will make the clones of cyber warfare. The cyber warfare is different with the traditional warfare because, let's say, the cruise missile, if you have a cruise missile in your hands, not every nation can copy and do the same. But if we speak about cyber warfare, just employ hackers and you have the cyber cruise missile. So this is really dangerous. But I believe, I hope that the governments, they're smart enough not to use the warfare in the conflicts. I think that the worst case scenario is not the governments which are behind these warfare attacks, but the terrorists which employ hackers and design not state-sponsored but terrorist-sponsored warfare and use it against the victims. I think this is the worst case scenario. But once again, speaking about different kinds of malware, I split it into two different categories. The cybercrime is a different, and state-sponsored espionage and warfare is a different as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I see we have a question from one of our online journalists.
Yes, there is a question from German journalist Monika Ermert. Heise. The question is to Mr. Kaspersky, how have sanctions changed the market and how have they influenced your work?
Sanctions on what?
Sanctions. I don't know, sorry, this is question to this journalist. Everyone.
Actually,
economic sanctions.
Economic
sanctions, yes.
Actually, we are not there in a list of the sanction stories. But speaking about geopolitical situation, yes, it's changed the business a little bit. So we're now less flexible to do business in United States and some other countries. So actually, we didn't have a business with United States government, and we had almost zero sales in government segment and the top enterprises in United States. Honestly speaking, we had just two customers, 60,000 K. So there was no damage, but there was a geopolitical war against my company. Yes, so we were under the pressure. So we lost about 1/4 of our American income, but it was compensated by the rest of the world. So actually, my company feels quite well. Unfortunately, because there's more and more demand on the cybersecurity because of the rising activity of the cyber criminals. And we developed the best cybersecurity technologies. If you check the independent tests, you will see that we demonstrate the best results with the top level of the protection. Recently, there was an independent test on the ransomware, how different products protect you from ransomware attacks. And I was really surprised because all of cybersecurity companies, cybersecurity products, demonstrate just a middle level of protection. Some of them, they demonstrate like a 50% protection from the ransomware attacks, 40%. And there's just one company demonstrating 100% protection from ransomware attacks. That's my company, my products. So actually, well, which sanctions you are speaking about? We are only company which can really protect you from ransomware. So, well, actually, the company is being developed, and now we're expecting to have their very good results by the end of this year. And, well, we're very optimistic about the future as a business. And unfortunately, we're very pessimistic about future of cybercrime and cybersecurity situation in the world, because unfortunately, because of this geopolitical trends and geopolitical situation, the many hackers, it's a paradise for hackers, because the nations, they don't speak to each other. So, well, the West sends requests to, I'm not sure about China, so I don't know what's going in this area between China and other countries, but I know what's going on in Russia. So the West is sending requests about Russian criminals doing the crime in the West, Europe and United States. Russian authorities, they sent the same request about the criminals doing crime against Russia, and there's nothing in return. So actually, it's zero. So they're like a blinds speaking to blinds, and nothing happens. So that's, it's a paradise, because if the many hackers, the professional hackers, they don't do crime within their own national borders. They don't have any victim in their own country, so they hack only abroad. And because the countries they are isolated in this area, in the legal area, nothing happens. But in the past, it was different. In the past, there was cooperation between different nations, and for example, there was a Carbonac case. The Carbonac story, when there was cooperation between Russian FSB, United States FBI, Europol, and some national cyber police departments in Europe, and it was a successful investigation. There were arrests. It doesn't happen at all right now.
And do you think the digital cooperation, can we go back? Is there going back to that state of cooperation? And how can fora such as the Internet Governance Forum, where we are now, how can we help to build that digital cooperation?
I think that if we speak about the situation and make more noise about the problem, I think it will help, because we need to force the states to speak to each other on this. But once again, as far as I understand, well, actually, I'm not in direct touch with authorities about these issues. But if there is no cooperation, real cooperation, no criminals investigated both in the West and in Russia, there will nothing happen. So there had to be like a equal situation in the different countries. So what I see, what I understand, how I understand the situation. But well, actually, but if nothing happens, it's a very bad idea, because this is paradise for criminals. They're becoming more professional. They're able to develop the better and the worse and more worse technologies. I don't want to say better technologies, speaking about hackers. So they're able to hack very well protected enterprises. Next step, they will able to hack very well protected industrial system, including infrastructure, including critical infrastructure. So actually that's, well, doing nothing about cybercrime right now, having zero cooperation, international cooperation between West, Russia, China, and some other countries, it's a way to cyber terrorism.
Thank you very much. That's a very important point. So digital cooperation is basically in our own self-interest to protect ourselves, and it increases safety.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned ransomware as one of the biggest threats right now, and we definitely saw a huge spike of ransomware attacks in the recent years. What do you think are the best solutions, not only from, you mentioned how your software protects, but in terms of digital cooperation and maybe legislative solutions? What are the solutions to the ransomware problem? And I know one of the solutions flying around is making paying ransoms illegal. Would that be a possible solution?
I'm afraid it will not help in some situation when there's too critical information is encrypted. But well, speaking about ransomware, first of all, you're right. So it's a rise of ransomware within the last couple of years. And why it happened? Well, first of all, the ransomware is not new. So ransomware attacks happened well in the mid 2000 already. But now it's really on the rise simply because of COVID, the lockdowns. There were no money mules traveling abroad. And actually, what was very interesting, that in last year, in 2020, we increased hackers' activity in March and April. So it was like plus 20, plus 25% of increasing hackers' activity. And then in May, it dropped down. Why? I think that simply because they had so many victims, so because there are many people spent more time on the internet, the employees, they were sent home, so there were more doors to hack enterprises from the home computers, from home systems of the employees, which are not protected same way like the office network. So it was increasing hacker activity. So I think that hackers, the cyber criminals, they were facing problems to monetize what they had, the catch they have from the victims. So they need to change their business model. So they changed to cryptocurrency and ransomware. Second question, why most of ransomware, not all, but most of the ransomware speaks Russian? Easy. Well, actually, that was a question to myself for quite a long time, and then I found the answer. Ransomware attacks, they need more professional hackers. So the hackers have to be well, better educated. If you speak about the Latin American hackers, they, well, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, they are like a mid-level. They speak about Chinese hackers, yes, they're much more professional. Russian hackers, they're more professional. But in China, cryptocurrency is forbidden. That's it, so they can't monetize that. So what's the rest of the world? No, not so many hackers there, not so many criminals. So the Russian-speaking countries, that's why the Russian-speaking countries, they are it's the main source of the ransom attacks. But well, the rest of the world, so the different kind of criminal businesses, the financial fraud, it's still there. The botnet and so these kind of attacks, it's still there. But ransom attacks, it's very visible. And unfortunately, there's a lot of noise from these attacks because you can't hide it. If your bank is robbed, or if your organization is robbed and you lose some money, but your organization keep working, okay, so you can not speak about that and the world will not recognize. But if your company is victim of a ransom attack, done. So watching the situation, I think the best way how to fix the problem with ransom attacks is, first of all, international cooperation. To make the police, to make the law enforcement to speak to each other and to assist each other, to help each other, and at least start the investigation. And second way, to make the rest of cybersecurity companies to do the same what we do, to develop technologies against ransomware attacks. Because what's going on right now on the cybersecurity market, it's like a 50% protection from ransomware attacks. It's like a drop the coin. Yes, you drop the coin, are you hacked or not? It's not a security. It's a shame on cybersecurity industry.
Thank you very much. And one thing I wanted to follow up in what you mentioned, cryptocurrencies, is do you see them as making the situation worse and making it easier for hackers to operate? And if so, what is the solution there? I mean, is there even a way to regulate cryptocurrencies online?
Very good question. And actually, well, it's a coincidence, maybe, but we have by years, we had a statistic of number of ransomware attacks and Bitcoin, the price for Bitcoin. So actually, the same graph. So as Bitcoin was rising up, same way the ransomware attacks were rising, starting from mid of 2000, end of 2000. So it's absolutely right that cryptocurrencies, they enable many criminal businesses, and the cyber criminals, especially in the present situation that is much more difficult to travel abroad. well, not much difficult, but well, still there are limits. So they changed to cryptocurrency. So to make cryptocurrencies forbidden, I'm afraid it's not possible. To make the more regulation on cryptocurrency, I'm afraid there will be different cryptocurrency. They will be not under the regulation. So it's tricky question. I don't know really what to do with cryptocurrencies. But cryptocurrency is a very good invention. So it's a very good idea, and blockchains. Well, actually, the blockchain technologies, they're changing the world. And I think there's a more positive from blockchain technologies than negative. For example, we also have blockchain technologies in our products. For example, we have an online election system based on the blockchain. So you can put your server in the internet, and if it even hacked, they can change the result of the voting or statistic which you collect on that. So this is a good idea, but speaking about how the bad guys, how the criminals use these technologies, okay, that's wrong. But what to do with the cryptocurrencies, I don't really know.
Thank you very much. I think nobody would, in good conscience, be able to answer that question straightforward. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for visiting the Internet Governance Forum. And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you very much to our audience around the world and on site in Katowice. And we will see you at the daily briefing tomorrow. Thank you very much, Mr. Kaspersky.
Thank you very much for your questions, and stay safe, healthy, and keep your cyber systems clean. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.